Thank you for visiting Past the Wire TV, the YouTube channel of PastTheWire.com. We're going to start with the calm before the storm. Now we're going to move right to the opening day action at Saratoga.
Tracking trips with Pick 6 King John Stetton. It's one of the best tools in horse racing for any level of player. It's your second set of eyes, spotting troubled trips, betting angles, track trends, horses to watch and favorites to fade, 10 figs, ticket structure, and more. At Tracking Trips, you're a friend with benefits. Not a member? You must hate winning money. Join Tracking Trips now. Visit pastthewire.com and we'll see you in the winner's circle. Remember, nobody does it better.
Welcome everybody to Saratoga Saturday, first Saturday of the meet, Saratoga 2023. There is nothing that kind of gets you in the mood and in that Saratoga frame of mind, and some of the little clips we're going to be putting in these videos. We had some boots on the ground. Jim Gazzale was there prior to opening day, and then on opening day, so we got that little Saratoga vibe going. We're going to have Jim up there all meet, bringing you all kinds of behind the scenes stuff, interviews, videos, all kinds of good Saratoga insight. We're going to go over races on Saturdays. We're going to find horses to play. We're going to find horses to maybe play against. Going to have a great Saratoga meet. We can't guarantee winning. Nobody can, but we can guarantee we're going to have a lot of fun and we're going to give it a heck of a try. And we're definitely going to bring a lot to the table and a lot of insight, and we'll see where it goes. For the Tracking Trip members out there, we had a nice winner to start the Friday card with Concherte, who looked like a first-time starter that, to me, under Luis Saez, was going to pop out of the gate running and wire that field. And that's exactly what happened. So it's always nice to start that way. We'll see if we can keep going on Saturday with a winner or two. So Thanks for tuning in, and we'll get started in a minute. So hang tight. Frankie Dettori. Ciao, Frankie. Tutto a posto.
Tutto a posto. Yes, that's a good start. So you haven't lost your Italian.
Frankie Dettori, legend, world-class jockey, one of the best ever to sit in the saddle, ambassador to the sport of kings. Meet Frankie during his fanfare like never before, only on Past the Wire TV.
Classic. Vino Rosso has taken the lead, and it's a vintage performance by Vino Rosso.
And before we get into Saratoga, let me say this. Contrary to popular belief, Saratoga is not the only place they are racing right now. There's a Group 1 race at Newmarket early in the morning Saturday for those of you that are up and so inclined. The July Cup, it's a 6-furlong sprint again at Newmarket in England. And there's a horse running in that race. It's going to be about 25, 30, 35 to 1 named Emirati that I bet last time at Royal Ascot. Didn't get the best of trips. And in my opinion, is awfully live in the July Cup Group 1 at Newmarket at what should be about, like I said, 25, 30, 35 to 1. It's not a big field, only 9 horses, but this will be one of the longest prices on the board. So for those of you so inclined, take a look at that race. I love betting the European races over there, so you know I really like it. We're sporting the Aga Khan today with the Past the Wire on the sleeve, so you know I'm a big fan of the racing and the breeding and just how they do things over there. So check it out if you're up in the morning and so inclined. That said, we'll move on to Saratoga. Many of you, or a lot of you, may have seen that I did a video a couple of weeks ago on Saratoga angles that I like a lot, and I'll reiterate that quickly. One of the things I look for every year, and they kind of tie in together, are horses for courses. Horses that love Saratoga and win at Saratoga have a tendency to come back and win there the next year and every year that they run there. And there's a list. People threw some names out there like Quick Call and 4-Star Dave and all these other horses, but there's a long, deep list of horses that love Saratoga. Saratoga is probably, in my opinion, the biggest horse for course racetrack that there is. And you know, an interesting nuance or idiosyncrasy or whatever you want to call it is that, you know, sires and horses that won and like Saratoga and mares, brood mares, tend to produce horses that like and win at Saratoga, similar to, you know, horses that like the slop or the turf, you know, breeding horses that way. You know, more so at Saratoga, in my opinion, than any other racetrack in the world. It's the biggest horse for course racetrack anywhere in my humble opinion. So we'll look for that throughout the meet. There were a couple running on Friday. We'll see how they do. One scratched, I think, but we'll see how they do. You know, the other thing that ties into it, because you know, and those of you who don't believe in that angle, You will if you pay attention to it, because it you know, it comes through consistently. Uh, Horses that win early in the meet, and now that it's an elongated meet, you kind of get more of them than you used to, but people run horses less, so not as many more as you would like to. But horses that win over the meet and come back and run again have a tendency to win again, often at a price because they're on the rise, because they ran through a condition, or they won at a claiming level and now they're moving up. And even on the drop, you know, it's just something that happens every year, and something that I love to watch for. So I did that show. I mean, you could find it. It's on the handicapping section on Past the Wire TV. I'm not going to bother putting a link to it because most of you probably saw it already, and now you kind of got the gist of it if you didn't see it. But if you want to watch it, it's there and it's easy to find. So we'll talk about Saturday's card a little bit. We're going to talk about the 3 stake races and one other race on the card. So we'll see. We'll see where we wind up. But you know, the 3 stake races are interesting. Stake races at Saratoga are always interesting. The first one is the first Group 1 of the Grade 1. Group 1. See, I watch so much European racing, I'm calling Grade 1s Group 1s, but it's really the same thing, right? The Diana is the first Grade 1 at the Spa, and there's 5 horses. Chad Brown's got 4 of the 5, and one of them is deserving heavy favorite, and that's In Italian, a horse that I've made money on when she wasn't a heavy favorite, and was, you know, kind of looked at as the lesser of the Brown horses in a couple of her earlier races. But I've always felt she was a Grade 1 quality type of filly, and she's proven that to be true, because she's a multiple Grade 1 winner, and she's the controlling speed. She's the fastest horse in the race early without question, and as fast as any of them late. So she's got a heck of a shot to go wire to wire, and she's going to be 2 to 5. So, you know, there's nothing there that we're telling anybody that they don't already know. Everybody's going to see that, and they're going to bet her accordingly. And we know that going in. So there's not really a lot of pace to challenge her. She's got every advantage. So for me, when I look to beat a horse like that, and it's always fun to beat, you know, an odds-on horse. And I used to, you know, get frustrated when Chad would have a bunch of horses in the same race, because, you know, you hate losing to a guy's other horse. So, you know, he's a great trainer, and a lot of people want to give him good horses. I certainly would if I had a horse of that caliber and he was willing to take it. So I've learned to embrace it and handicap it, and you know, learn some of the things that he does. And you know, the same thing for all of those big name trainers, Pletcher, Baffert. You know, that sometimes you just see a lot of their, you know, entries in there, and that's not a U.S. problem. I'll point out races over in the UK and you know, across the Atlantic, where, you know, there's 5 horses in the race, and Aidan O'Brien's got 3 of them, and his, you know, son's got the other 2. So it happens all over the place. It's a racing problem, not a U.S. problem, and not something you can lay on any trainer. But when I look to beat a horse like In Italian, I look for another horse in the race who has some upside, and maybe we haven't seen the best of, if there is such a horse in the race. And I think there is in the Diana. You know, and you'll need a big step up to beat In Italian, who not only, you know, there's no knocks. She's the fastest. She's the only speed. She's the classiest, and you know, she's got every pace advantage and setup advantage that you could possibly have, and she's, you know, like I said, the best horse in the race. So you know, there's really no excuse there, and no knock. I always look for a knock, and there isn't one here. So with that said, White Beam to me is a very intriguing upset possibility. And, you know, with 5 horses, there's not going to be any big price, even if there is an upset, but she should be 4, 5, 6 to 1, maybe 7 to 1. I doubt it. But, you know, she's a filly that was very consistent in the UK, and she had to start in France, but in England, she was pretty consistent. Raced against the boys, beat the boys. You know, ran on straight courses, left-hand courses, right-hand courses, uphill, downhill. So we know she's got some diversity and talent, because it takes talent to run and compete that way consistently. She never quite ran in a group level, but first time as a 3-year-old when she came here, and Chad got her, she ran in the Plenty of Gray Stakes at Aqueduct back in April, and she caught a really slow pace, 25 and change, 49 and change, 113 and change. She was sitting off the pace with Manny Franco. She rallied, finished second, beat a neck. Came out of that race, and on Preakness weekend went and destroyed the field in the Gallarette, and just was running away from them at the end. Little faster pace, had a little bit more distance. That was 1 mile and a 16th. The first US race was 1 mile. Now she runs 1 mile and an 1/8. Juddmonte Homebred has every indication by Caravaggio. I don't really look at him as distance, but he was by Scat Daddy, and she's out of an Oasis Dream mare. So, Juddmonte, she's bred to handle 1 mile and 1/8, no problem. And if anybody is going to beat in Italian, which is not very likely, but if anybody is, I would take the shot if you're looking to beat her with White Beam, who's got upside where some of the others don't. Market segmentation does have upside, is getting better, but looks to me like she wants longer than 1 mile and an 1/8. I think she's not going to have the same speed that she had last time, cutting back from 1 mile and a quarter to 1 mile and an 1/8. So I would lean more to White Beam, who loses Irad to the favorite, the other Chad horse, but picks up Pratt, who, he'll be making the most of his opportunities there. And we'll see what happens with that. So, sometimes Saratoga, not judging by the Schuylerville, which was won by a big price, Gary Contessa, first-time starter filly. But, Saratoga has a tendency to my least 2 favorite weeks at Saratoga are opening week historically and closing week for different reasons. Opening week just sometimes tends to be a little bit chalky. And I like to kind of watch. It's a long meet now. When it was, 4 weeks, it was a little bit different when it was the August place to be as opposed to the summer place to be. It was less is more and higher quality racing consistently. Now it's a little bit, elongated and diluted, but it is what it is. And closing week is different because you've got all those barns looking to drop horses, and the ones that haven't got a win yet are looking to get that win and get that shipping money or pay for the meat money. So you see some interesting things then, and I try and capitalize on that. But those are the 2 meets the 2 weeks of the meet that I scale back a little bit unless I really see something that I like a lot. But White Beam, I think if anybody is going to beat an Italian, probably not, but if anybody is, I would take the shot with her. And it may just be a race that if you're going to watch it, you watch it, you don't bet it. If you're going to bet, to pick 5, you use one or the other. But if you're so inclined, a cold exacta in Italian over White Beam, just ice cold, you don't reverse it, you don't take nothing else. Not going to pay a lot of money, but certainly on paper has a heck of a chance of being the right combination. The Kelso, 1 mile on the grass. We've got another legitimate favorite, not as short a price and not as much of an advantage as in Italian has, but Annapolis certainly like Saratoga, 2 for 3 over that grass course with a second, but just looks on paper like he's got plenty of speed to run into. and set him up. And you know, another heavy favorite for Irad Ortiz with a good setup, a good pace scenario, going to be awfully tough to get past. How do you do it? Well, you got to hope somebody gets a trip, gets a jump on them, or the speed doesn't play out like you think it might, or he just maybe doesn't show up with his best race. He has every indication that he will, though. You know, he's one off the layoff. He was on a roll at 3, ran in the Breeders' Cup Mile, took a lot of money that day in the Breeders' Cup Mile, won by Modern Games as a 3-year-old. Now he came back as a 4-year-old, won the opening verse on Derby weekend, and you know, got up at a short price, and now comes back second off the layoff, and will be a handful. But there's a horse in there that I bet last time out that lost a heartbreaker in the last jump. Filo di Ariana, 7-year-old horse that originally come from Brazil. Those South American imports take a while to get acclimated. It's a completely different style of training and racing over there. So they're entitled to take a while to get acclimated. And this horse, 7-year-old now, did take a while to get acclimated, but he did, and he started getting really good. Now, last time out when I bet him, I thought he was going to clear the field easily, and he didn't. He had pressure every step of the way under Luis Saez, and he fought everybody off, shook clear, and then got nailed the last jump by a Pletcher horse coming off the pace, Emmanuel, who also figured, but he did all the heavy lifting. Now, I'm thinking in the Kelso, he's being ridden by Jose Ortiz as opposed to Luis Saez. Luis is aggressive, likes to go for the lead if he's on speed. Jose is a little bit more heady and cerebral. So I think that, and he likes to go to the lead too, don't get me wrong, and is aggressive, but I think that Filo de Ariana may sit off speed in the catbird seat, get the jump on Annapolis, and coming out of that tough race. You know, before that, off the layoff, he ran 5.5 furlongs on the synthetic at Woodbine, ran a good second, went into the polka, went off 5-1 that day. Oh, did I ever need him? Got nailed the last jump, ran hard. Now he, you know, is third off the layoff. I think, you know, I know the horse can sit, doesn't have to go to the lead. I think that speed battle is going to have toughened him up, sit a little bit off the pace, get the right kind of trip, get the jump on the favorite with Jose, and maybe be able to pull off the upset at 5, 6, 7-1 and beat Annapolis. Definitely think he's sitting on another good race. Definitely think he's got the potential to do that. And we'll see if he can. So, you know, for those inclined to go against Annapolis, that's in my opinion, a viable alternative. So we've got 2 stakes we talked about. We've got 2 heavy favorites that we know are tough to beat, but we got 2 possible alternatives. So we always like to look for that. So let's take a quick break. We'll come back in a minute and we'll talk about one of the other races and the Sanford, the last stake on the first Saturday card at the spot.
Here with some exciting news. DRF Formulator, the gold standard in past performance information, is now free exclusively on DRF Bets. Join DRF Bets with the promo code WINNING. Get a $250 first deposit match bonus, a $10 free bet, and free Formulator already uploaded to your account. Access Formulator's premium features, including sortable trainer stats, race replays, personalized trip notes, and lots more. Free Formulator exclusively on DRF Bets.
It costs you more than 20, Frank. Like, I need more than 20 in your job.
It is here, the big day, the day almost all of us in horse racing wait for, Breeders' Cup Saturday. It looks like we're going to see some really, really impressive races on Saturday. It starts with the filly and mare sprint. One of my stronger opinions on the card is Goodnight Olive to start things off. I think she gets a perfect trip.
Goodnight Olive, 6 in a row, and a Breeders' Cup champion.
We've got Modern Games going in the Turf Mile for Godolphin. The Godolphin and Aidan O'Brien horses we said on Past the Wire TV all week long on the backside. Those two contingents stuck out from all the rest. Modern Games looking for a big race from him.
Modern Games storming down the center of the course. Modern Games, a two-time Breeders' Cup winner. You bet he is.
That is Rebels Romance, who in my humble opinion is one of Godolphin's better chances this year. Rebels Romance is a very, very good looking Godolphin horse that can absolutely win this race. Rebels Romance is a must use.
Rebels Romance rolling on the outside. Warlock got it. Makes her bid down toward the inside. Rebels Romance down the center of the course. Has it close to home. Rebels Romance wins the turf over Stoney.
We got Flightline that they're putting in the best ever category. There's no question that the race he ran in the Pacific Classic is one of the best races we've seen any racehorse run ever.
It is Flightline. It is mind-tingling, jaw-dropping, awe-inspiring, Secretariat-like Breeders' Cup Classic win. He won it by 8 lengths.
All right, before we talk about the Sanford, we'll talk about the 8th race, which is a maiden special weight race at 7 furlongs for New York breds. And we see a lot of New York bred races up at Saratoga nowadays. You know, they really boosted up the New York bred program. They run for big money. And we've got a Mr. Amore stable homebred that kind of caught my eye. It says bred by Ron Lombardi in New York, but Ron owns Mr. Amore Stables, and he's got a 3-year-old filly that he bred to Juju Eyeballs was the mare. Many of you will remember Juju Eyeballs. She did her share of damage, and he bred her to Union Rags, $30,000 sire. So he took a shot. That's a decent stud fee. And we've got a New York bred that's working pretty good, steady half miles for Kelly Breen at Monmouth. Comes here, has to go 7 furlongs, but draws the 9 hole, has Jose Ortiz. The field looks very suspect to me. I think it's definitely a race that a first-time starter can win. Now, 7 furlongs can be a tricky distance for first-time starters, but Kelly Breen is about 16% overall first-time out, but he's a good first-time out trainer. He gets his horses ready. He brings them fit. This is a New York bred, so it makes sense to come from Monmouth to run here. But if the horse wasn't good, even though it is a New York bred, he'd probably, opt to run her at Monmouth against lesser competition for lesser money. So, he's coming to run here. He can fire first out. I like the outside draw with Jose Ortiz. I like the works at Monmouth. Nothing too fast, but very steady, fast enough works in my opinion. And it's a big field, should be a fair price. 5 to 1 on the board. I mean, Kelly can take money if he's live. And that's definitely a betting barn in my opinion. So, they may, send it in if they really like her, but I think she's going to come out running. And like I said, we hit Concherte, first time starter in the first at the spot today. I'm not afraid of betting first-time starters, first-time turfers. Sometimes I love those horses. If Jimmy, my man, is watching, world approval. Remember, if he's on there now, he'd say, "Yeah, that was my last winner." But we know better than that. But that's an inside joke, world approval. So with that, Nejud, Kelly Breen's first-time starter, Union Regs filly out of Juju Eyeballs in the 9th has kind of caught my eye a little bit, and that's a horse I might be playing. Definitely a horse I will be using. Now, moving right along to the Sanford. They start opening day with the Schuylerville. A couple days later, they run the Sanford the first Saturday now. And there's going to be a heavy favorite in here, a horse that's just flat out faster than the rest of them. And that's Gold Sweep, Steve Asmussen's horse that Jose Ortiz rides. First time out, came up a little short, closing to Wilson Q at Churchill Downs, but then came back as a maiden and annihilated the Tremont at Belmont, getting a fast, just a fast race, much faster than any of these have run, and doesn't even have to run that fast again in order to beat what these have done. So again, we've got 3 legitimate heavy favorites in the 3 stakes. They all could win, but what's the likelihood of that? All 3 of them going to win? No, maybe not. So we're taking this opening Saturday with the 3 stakes with alternative possibilities. So I've got one here that I kind of sniff out as a very, very dangerous horse. The Sanford is 6 furlongs. I wish it was 7. The hopeful is 7, because I would like the chances much better at 7. But the 7 horse, Triple Treya, Woodbine Shipper by Bolt de Oro, has one start where he came off the pace at 5 furlongs at Woodbine on the synthetic. Okay. Worked very good on the synthetic after the race. Barbara Minchell is capable outfit, ships in for this race off that win in a key race. Horses have come out of that race to win. Always a plus in my book. I like key races. I like horses coming out of races where other horses that ran behind them or even in front of them have come back to win. This was one of those races. Now tries the dirt for the first time, gets an extra furlong. There's speed in the race, has Luis Saez, one of the strongest finishes in the game, is by Bolt de Oro. The Bolt de Oros have been doing great. I think he's going to like the dirt, probably more than he liked the synthetic. He is out of a Forest Wildcat mare. They run on anything turf dirt, doesn't really make much of a difference. 10-1 on the morning line, and that's another one that I think if he takes to the dirt, will be running late, and that's key. It's a horse I think can upset the favorite if the favorite doesn't bring that race again, or just doesn't show up. I know that the barn, and I know that Jose Ortiz is very high on that horse, and rightly so. They like him. They think he's a runner. They've got lofty plans for him. But you know how these races go. Anything can happen. And, for you NFL guys, we know what a trap game is. A trap game is when, you think you've got the other team beat and you're looking at the next game or a game or two ahead, and bang, you wind up getting stung because you aren't focused on the race at hand. Not that, that's going to happen here, but, this is a horse they've got big plans for. I think they've got this race won. But again, he's got to do it on the racetrack, and he can sit, and another one. All 3 of these favorites have the perfect setup. He's drawn outside. He's drawn to sit the right trip, the pace scenario. Everything favors all 3 of those favorites. But again, we're coming up with alternatives. So Triple Treya, in my opinion, is definitely a viable alternative, and similar to the other ones that we talked about. If he doesn't upset, he could be a cold exacta. So if you're, dead set on the favorite, I would definitely look at Triple Treya as the horse to just complete the ice cold, exacta. Now, for me, the way I play, whether I played these favorites, which obviously I don't think I would obviously play them to win, but if I was going to use them, I would single them. Or if I was going to bet against them, I would single the horses that I like against them. And that for me will probably be game time decisions based on how things are going and how the track is playing and, what the conditions are. It rained Thursday after opening day. Opening day held up, but it rained after, and Friday all the races come off the turf. So, Saratoga, one of the challenges, and there's many challenges at that meet. Everybody points for it. Everybody wants to win there. Everybody, takes every edge that they can get there, dropping horses and, trying to put horses over, saving horses for the meet. Horses shipping in from all over the place, pointing for there. Another one of the, challenges is the weather. Saratoga gets a lot of rain. You do all your homework. You don't think it's going to rain. Boom, opens up. And all of a sudden, all your grass races are on the dirt. The slop at Saratoga and the mud at Saratoga can play funny and different from day to day and race to race. So, those are all Saratoga challenges. And we'll address them all during the course of the meet because they're going to come up. There's no doubt about it. It's going to happen. So we will deal with it. Hope you enjoyed the first show. Hit the like button, leave a comment. Any ideas for the future Saratoga Saturday shows, let me know. Last year we did them every day with Dawn Lupel. She's out in Western Canada. She did this year working for a different racetrack. Maybe we'll get her on as a guest one day. I don't know. I'll check in with her, but that would be fun to get her back. We had some fun doing the shows last year, but we'll be doing one every Saturday at the meet, bringing you all kinds of stuff. We'll have, great footage, great everything. Tracking trips. We're all out this meet and all out at Del Mar once they start racing in just another couple of days. So Saratoga by day, Del Mar by night at Tracking Trips. But our Saratoga Saturday shows will be up there every day. I'll try and get them up by Friday or early Saturday morning. I wait because you try and get as much take on the weather and how things are going to be playing as you possibly can. You put them up too early and it's just not not advantageous to everybody. So again, thanks for tuning in. Send me suggestions for shows or anything that you may want to see. We'll have horses to play against. We'll have behind the scenes footage. We'll check in with some bonds, check in on some horses, and have a lot of fun for Saratoga. And we'll do our best to make you feel like you are there. So that's all we got for opening Saratoga Saturday #1. And once again, much appreciated, and ciao for now. Does it better.